And welcome back to part 4 of us building a ChatGPT clone without using code. So let's just recap what we've done so far and what we're going to do next, because now it's going to get a little bit more complex, but not too much, because we're not after an identical clone when it comes to every parameter that ChatGPT has. We will have some limitations. It will not be as fast. We will not have as long of a context window as ChatGPT, and we'll go through this in a second, and so on. We won't be able to nicely and neatly generate markdown and so on, but it proves the point, right, that we're actually able to build some version of this. So let's see where we are. This is our replica or clone, and this is the real actual ChatGPT. So let's just reload this for the sake of it and see where we're at. So what is a horse? It'll take a second to give us an answer. Horse is a four-legged animal that is used for transportation. Okay, great. How big are they? And here immediately we are getting into what we need to do now. Because as you see now, we have the capability to interact with the AI model. What is a horse? A horse is a four-legged animal that is used for transportation. Okay, great. How big are they? And then it answers something about earrings and how big earrings are, right? And that is because we are lacking context. We don't know what has happened previously for each message we sent. We don't know what the conversation is about and what the previous questions and answers have been. And this is one of the probably the greatest sort of UI or UX benefit of ChatGPT, is that it has a contextualized way to interact with the models that is really long, and it makes it much more conversational. So this is what we're going to do now. We're going to be adding context to this chat so that we can actually interact with the chatbot, right? Not just a one-off thing where it answers a question and then we ask it something on this topic and it answers something focused like this. So this is what we're going to do. Now this works sort of like a rolling window in ChatGPT. So if we write anything here, let's say, what is a horse? And I mean, you know this already, but let's continue to do it. And it's very verbose. Okay, great. How big are they? Right, you see, it answers about the horse. So this context is what we're going to be building in now. Now, ChatGPT has some advantages over us, that the context window or the token limit of each API call is much bigger than for the regular models. So for DaVinci, for example, the context window is 4,000 tokens. And it seems like for ChatGPT, it might be 8,000 tokens. So it's double the size of that. And in our case, I changed our model to be the Curie model because it's much faster. Downside is the Curie model has a token limitation of around 2,000 tokens. So if you don't know what this is, let's just talk about this briefly. So here we have the OpenAPI models. Takes DaVinci, the most capable one. Some version of this is probably, I'm not sure if it's DaVinci, but I guess some version of DaVinci they have used as a baseline for ChatGPT. 4,000 tokens, right? And all the other here have Curie, Babbage, Ada, 2,000 tokens. And then we have the code models, which I think also has probably, might even have 8,000 tokens in the API version. So what is a token? Token is the amount of a metric of the amount of text you pump into the API call, and you have a max limit on the API call, your prompt, plus the response. So this token limit is the total amount of tokens. So you need to factor in the length of the prompt that you have. So let's go here and see, okay, but how does a token translate to a word or a character, and how do I know what I have to work with? So this is a great article on the OpenAI help knowledge library. And we can see that one token is roughly 4 characters in English. So we're looking at 2,048 tokens for our Curie model right now. We have almost 8,200 characters in English. Or if you want to put that to word, 2,000 tokens is around 1,500 words, right? So this is the context limit that we will have. And now for ChatGPT, which seems to have 8,000 tokens as the limit, this is actually 4 times more context than we will be able to use here in our chat clone. And this token limitation is one of the sort of, at this point, one of the fundamental limitations of the large language models. Because just imagine if you could input, hundreds of thousands of tokens as the context limit. It'll be drastically different what you'll be able to do. Of course, there are ways around this. For example, if you want to summarize large amounts of text, you could do a recursive summary where you break down the input into chunks, summarize those chunks, and then have that summary collected and do another prompt and so on, right? There are techniques to sort of circumvent it for specific use cases. But anyway, in our case here, where we use the query model, we will have a token limitation of 2048 tokens. So we will know that, okay, our prompt plus our answer will not be able to be more than 1,500 words, for example. So we know that, okay, one token is 4 characters in English. So 2048 tokens is how many characters? Yeah, 8,200 characters. And this will be our context limit. So at maximum, the response we have plus the prompt will be a maximum of 8,000 characters. So that's good to keep in mind. Now, without further ado, let's go into creating some context. And I will start by illustrating the concept. So first of all, we need to see how we are going to work with this. So I'm going to just go into here, and I'm going to put a text field, just a random text field. I'm going to make it white so we can see what it actually says. And then I'm going to say this text is going to be the repeating group chat messages. And that is, this, whatever we write here, this is the repeating group's chat messages. And I'm going to have all the chat messages, and I want each item's content, right? Because I want the entirety of the chat to be in this window. And this is just to illustrate what we're going to do. So if I go here, now I will see this conversation. What is a horse? A horse is a 4-legged animal. All right. But at this point, the structure is not really that good because we want to see sort of how the conversation has flowed a little bit. So what I can do is I can continue to do this, click more, and I want to format this as a text. And here I can say content to show per item list. So I want just the text per item list, but I want to delimit it. So let's delimit it by 2 new lines here, for example. So the same here. Okay, great. What is a horse? A horse is a 4-legged animal used for transportation. Okay, great. How big are they? These earrings are about blah, blah, blah. And if we add something else, tell me about, Oops. I have a different keyboard today and also different monitor. I'm not sure if you can see. So some unintended navigation there. Tell me about the history of horses, please. And you can see. All right. So this is how we will pull the context. So this is now the context. Of course. Well, let's actually move at this, and then I'll continue with going into how we will move this window, because sometimes the conversation will be longer than our token limitation. So all right, this is the context now. Now I want to actually pull this context into the prompt when I have a conversation. So I want to be able to say, summarize this conversation or something. It won't be able to do it. But I want to be able to do this showing that it understands what we have talked about. So how can we do this? Well, we can include it in the prompt. So let's go here. Let's keep this just for illustrative purposes. Let's go to workflow. And let's go to the case where there actually is a chat channel, which means we have written a first message. So we now have a chat channel created. So this is this one. Chat channel is not empty. And then we're going to go to step 4, where we actually create the message with our prompt. And I'm going to remove this prompt. So just to see where we are at. So right now we're taking result of step 2 as a prompt, which is just the message that we create. So whatever you put in the input field. Now let's remove this, but remember that we have step 2. And I'm going to do, just to see what I'm going to do, I'm going to do arbitrary text. So I can have this box. And then I'm going to pull this whole thing as the prompt, right? So this is the repeating groups chat channel list of, repeating groups, it's the other one. Chat message, list of chat messages, each item's content, right? I'm just doing exactly the same as we did here, just so you understand what I'm doing here. Going through, toggling between tabs is slow. So repeating groups, chat message, list of chat messages, each item formatted as text, where we have delimiter, which are 2 new lines. So I'm just going to do exactly that, but on our workflow side here. So arbitrary text, repeating groups, chat messages, list of chat messages, each item's context. Let's click more. Text, format as text. I want this text, and I'm going to delimit by 2 lines. So at this point, we're just giving it the context. So right now, this is the prompt. But I also want more in the prompt. I want to say that this was a conversation, and it's going to come a question here from the input, and we want an answer. So I'm just going to do this very simple for now. So I'm going to say conversation, right? This is conversation. And I'm going to say question, and I'm going to say answer. And the question will be, okay, guess step 2, the messages we have created. So the message will be the result of step 2's content, and the answer will be whatever is returned here, right? So, and we have body tokens here, 1500. That means that our max token in the input is now around 500, 548 to be exact, but yeah, get the point. So let's try this again. See how good it works. So now I'm going to say, what is a horse? Question mark. All right. And now if we ask how big are they, we should get an answer about the horses. Look at that. Look at that. We have achieved context. All right. Great. Can you tell me about the history of horses? Horses have been around for more than. Okay, great. Can you summarize this conversation? Conversation for me, please. All right. So now we can see that we have achieved context. And here we see the entire conversation. And every time we write something new, the prompt is the entire conversation. So this is sort of this is a light version of ChatGPT now, but we have something we have not addressed. What happens when we have a long conversation? Many prompts, many questions. So let's say, write a short story about horses, please, in the style of, I don't know, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Let's see if this works. We get some story, and it's getting longer and longer. At some point, this will be much longer than we can put in a prompt, because the token limitation of 2048 will be reached. So what we have to do is, now we have a window, right? This is the window of context, but we have to have a rolling window. So we will always take some portion of the text starting from the last part of it, right? So let's say maybe we just take the last 4,000 characters or whatever. So let's say we split in half. So we have 2,000 tokens to work with, right? This is 1,500 words, and we will split this in half. So half of that will be for a prompt, and half of that will be for a response. So then we know the context from which we should, we will know the character limit which we should pull from here. But let's do that later in a second, because now I'm just going to show you how to do it. So the way we'll do it is we're just going to say this same thing, or this group. Let's do it in a more illustrative way. So this, but I want the last something characters always, right? And if that character amount is more than what is in the text, then we will just have everything. So to do that, we need to extract it with a regular expression. Now we're going to extract regex, and I discovered some problems here, so I just edited out that part, figured out a easy solution, and I'm going to show you what the issue was. So what I did, first of all, I'm not an expert in regex, so I usually ask GPT-3 or ChatGPT to help me out, and then I try it to see if it works. So what I did was I asked for to extract 500 last characters of a long text, include matched line terminators. I get a response right. Sometimes these work, sometimes they don't work. What you could do is just, I'm sure there's some service here that has fine-tuned on this or something, but usually I just do it in Playground. So I went to Regex 101. I used one of the outputs just to try it out. So this seems to be working. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. So this is the regex pattern we're going to be using. And then we can see if it works. Let's also try it out. Okay, pull something here. Pull something here. Here it doesn't tell me about the horses. So it seems to have a problem with double line breaks. And as you remember, we have here double line breaks as a delimiter. So I couldn't figure this out with regex. I just tried for like 10 minutes. But I thought, okay, but let's just delimit by something else that doesn't naturally occur in the text. So let's delimit by 3 lines. Let's see here if we now capture the latest 500 characters. Here it seems to work. Here it seems to be working. This long one, let's see if this is 500 characters. Here's just the character counter. Yep, 501. So I guess, yeah, this is added. Okay. But again, this looks a bit messy because we're going to use this as a prompt. So I still want to delimit it. But what we can do instead is we can just add a find and replace, a little workaround. So I'm going to find these 3, and I'm going to replace those instead by 2 line breaks. And now we should have great. Tell me about horses. Please have me written, blah, blah, blah. What is a horse? This one is a bit longer. Of course, yeah, we didn't change the prompt on the backend, so this shouldn't work now because it's too long. And this is what we're trying to circumvent. So now let me know that this is working. It grabs the last 500 characters all the time. Then we can add this into the prompt. So let me just remove these chats actually. It's a bit annoying. And then we'll start from sort of a fresh sheet here. Oops. Like so. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to emulate this, do the same thing basically on our workflow. So let's go to our workflow. And here we're going to say arbitrary text, format as text. Yeah, delimit by these 3, right? But we're also going to say format as, come on. Repeating groups. We just have to do it again. Repeating groups, chat message, each. Okay, more. Extract with regex. I'm gonna pull this in, but I am going to be using the latest. What did we say? 4,000 characters. And what else? Regex. Repeating group. More. And then find and replace, right? This is what we did. Find, replace by. Okay. So we have 4,000. That's 4,000 characters is around what, 1,000 tokens, so this is too much, so we should have 1,000 tokens here as well. Then we probably shouldn't hit the limit. Let's see. So classic, what is a horse? Great. How large are they? Should have the context still be here, right? Okay, what are the history of horses? Okay, let's see how many characters this is. I was confused, but this should be around 500. Okay, great. So it just seemed that there was some refresh error, so we didn't really have any error. So let's see. I realized, however, that if we look at our prompts here in the workflow, let's go to prompt. So our prompt is currently conversation, then the question, then the answer. But I realized that this question is already part of the prompt, right? So 4,000 here. Actually, let's make this a bit. I mean, yeah, I guess this is okay. Body tokens is 1,000. Because we already have 1,000 here. Let's do 3,000 here, and let's do 500, and let's see how that works. But what I was going to say is we don't need this question here because that is already part of the prompt. So this should be enough. So let's see. Let's try this out and see where we are at. So let's say a new chat. What is a horse? Great. How much they weigh? Weigh? Like this? Great. Now summarize the history of horses, please. Great. Can you summarize this conversation? All right. So now this is always the prompt. Let's just double check that this happens before. Yes, so first we have a message, so that is added. And then we pull this repeating group, which contains that message already. So yes, that's good. But now I want this to be more helpful. So first of all, we know that this works, right? So we can remove the this now, or we can at least hide it. So let's do that first. Hide it and collapse it. Let's see if ChatGPT has woken up yet, because I want to use it for something. Okay, it hasn't. Anyway, we can probably use the playground. What I want to do is I want to give some more helpful commands to our prompt here. So we want to say, hey, what are your instructions? Okay, so let's see if we can find it on Google. ChatGPT instructions. Prompt. Okay, anyway, let's do one. Let's say generate instructional prompt for a AI conversational chatbot called Assistant is supposed to be helpful and thoughtful. Inception, right? Now generate a prompt for this. Come on, server errors. Okay, generate a prompt for an. Let's see if this works. Otherwise, please do it by hand. Okay, let's do it by hand. I am assistant, large language model trained on the world's knowledge. If you ask me questions and have conversations with me, I will give thoughtful and insightful answers. In a helpful tone. Something like this. I don't know exactly what the instructions are for ChatGPT, but we can see it later, right? When it works. So let's try this. Let's try question. What is a horse? Okay, and then we ask, okay, great. Who are you and what are your instructions? Right, good. So this should work. So I'm gonna grab this, boom. I'm gonna put that in our prompt to have a little bit more guided conversation and be one tiny step closer to this, right? And say, I'm assistant, large language model, trained on the world's knowledge. If you ask me a question and have a conversation with me, I will give you a thoughtful and insightful answer in a helpful tone. Previous conversation. And then we're gonna say, my thoughtful answer, right? Maybe assistant. Let's try this first. Okay. Hello. What? Okay, this is bad. Let's do this instead. What is a horse? Who are you? Should say that it's assistant. I'm able to understand ask question. Great. Can you help me write a story about horses and their significance in the, I don't know, history of civilization? But I can't spell right now. Okay, so we have some version of this. Of course, we can make the prompt better and so on, but this is something we can work with. Now, just to show you how the model impacts this, let's change the model to instead of text query, we're gonna grab text Da Vinci. And this is gonna take a lot more time, but we're gonna get a more verbose answer and so on. So let's change to Da Vinci, and now we can also change the tokens. So let's say 2,500 here now, for more context. And we will restart. And say, hello, say horse. As you see, longer time. Horses domesticated to female. Great. It's the history of horses. Great. Can you write a short joke about a horse? What? Weird. So that's it for this video. Let's wrap up what we've done and where we're at. So now we have added context to this ChatGPT clone. So what is artificial intelligence? And we have set a context window to be like half the size of the token limit, and then we can have an input that is the other half of the size of the token limit. Also changed the model to Curie and then back to DaVinci just to show you the difference in speed. The benefit of DaVinci is that it has double the amount of the token limit, so we can have more context and richer answers and so on. So this is where we're at now. This is a clone that is working. We can speak with the AI in a context manner. Of course, we have some limitations. There are some polish items to do. And I think the next video will be me just polishing this up. But essentially now we are done. We have built a ChatGPT clone in a few hours. And you've seen it all from 0 to 1. And yeah, this is it. So if you want to see the polish video, then look at the next one. A few more. So okay, great. Give me the history of AI in a list. Great. Can you summarize this in 3 sentences, please? Long sentences. But great. So as you can see, we're done. See you soon. Ciao.